Hello, I'm Jim Morningstar, Director of the School of Integrative Psychology and facilitator of the Integrative Life Community Building course. The focus of this second class in our series is reinforcing the daily roots of mental mastery such that your mind is working for you 24/7. Mind mastery will assist us in consciously choosing and implementing choices that best serve us in our world. As I suggested earlier, I'm looking to create a psychology which is the study of the mind that enhances our spiritual basis, our spiritual purpose. Too often our mind, or our ego, as the derivative of the mind, becomes a hindrance to our spiritual life rather than a servant of it. So I'm looking more than just to get our mind out of the way, to be mindless creatures. I'm looking to be mindful. How can we operate with principles that bring our mind into alignment with our spiritual purpose and have our mind be working for us in the world breath by breath? Briefly defined, the mind is all of our thoughts or our potential to think. We are not our mind, but we are the creator of the mind. And it is you that have the objectivity to stand back from the mind and to give it instructions. To give it the instructions that will keep it in alignment with your spirit. There are very simple principles on which the mind works. The first principle is what you concentrate on is what increases in your life. This is a foundational principle of which we're all aware. If we want to learn French, we do French immersion. You immerse yourself into it, and then the mind adapts to it, takes it on. If you're concentrating on the difficulty that you have in life, then it will tend to enhance your awareness of difficulty. People who focus on the joy or gratitude of their existence tend to find that increases in their lives. Now, it's just not a one-to-one proposition. Just because I have a joyous thought, therefore my entire life is joyous. We have a multiplicity of thoughts, to be sure. But in general, what you focus on is what will increase in your mind. The second principle is what you believe is ultimate reality is what you will create in your worldview. Again, you do not need 20 years of psychoanalysis to find out what your deepest thoughts are. You simply need to ask what life is like for you. Describe your world, and the basic beliefs emerge quite readily. In fact, because of that, we're going to be able to get down to some of what I call our personal laws in the work that we do. The third principle of mental mastery is what you think will continue to have effect in your life until you change your mind, until you change your thoughts. So if you've reached a conclusion about something some years ago, you're going to continue to operate on the basis of that conclusion until you change your thoughts. I guess this is what keeps therapists in business, is the fact that we reach conclusions about ourselves and our lives at a very early age. And those early conclusions continue to have effect on our daily existence until we go back and change them. Now, obviously, that's an art form as much as a science. Changing them is not a snapping of the fingers or a simple decision, because these thoughts have roots, tendrils that go out and connect with other thoughts that are very reinforcing. And they are held in place with feeling, with emotion. They can be glued in place with very strong emotional energy. A little warning on the package here. As we do our work, if we're going to quite bravely go in and start unearthing the contents of our mind, there may be feelings. Well, in fact, if they're not, I'd be surprised. However, we're going to do it consciously and lovingly so that we can help free up negative or limiting thought patterns and have that emotional energy be available for something creative, nurturing, and useful in our life, as opposed to having a death grip on our fixed belief system, entrenching it within us. The mind also works on basic laws, just like the physical universe that we've discovered. And the laws that I see are the most effective for us to work with in mastering our mind are, first of all, the law of attraction. And that simply states that thoughts will attract like thoughts. So if I have the thought that Monday morning is miserable, well, that will tend to draw on other similar thoughts. Oh, the toast always burns on Monday. Ugh, the weather is always so terrible on Monday. And my partner just so annoying in how they chew Monday morning, and so on. Then I'll tend to get together with other like-minded folks at work and grumble about Monday. But the good news is the same is true in the opposite side. If I change my thoughts, and let's say I'm working on gratitude or joy or love in my existence, I will also tend to draw on thoughts of that ilk. Now, yes, there are other refinements on that. Sometimes thoughts will bring up their opposite. So it's not that thoughts always just attract similar thoughts, but in general, the mind will work in attracting and supporting and reinforcing itself with similar thoughts. So that I've got a belief system that I've had for a long time, I've amassed a huge quantity of thoughts that hold that in place. Just because someone comes along and says something different, they're not going to change immediately. I've got an investment in that belief. Secondly is the law of projection. If I believe, that people don't pay attention to me, people don't think that what I say is important, then I look out through my beliefs and I will tend to interpret everything accordingly. For example, if I had this belief, which I don't, I would think, probably half the people who started this video have already left. This stuff is probably not interesting. Mental mastery, who needs that? Phooey. I would project this negative basic belief onto life, onto my world. I wouldn't realize that the belief is actually a command to the world. If I have the thought, people don't like me, I'm actually saying, people don't like me. I'm giving this instruction to the universe. Again, the opposite is true. People like me translates into the command, people like me. So knowing what instructions I'm giving out is extremely valuable in analyzing the results I'm getting back. Like I said, we're going to take advantage of that in the work that we'll do in a few minutes. The third law is the law of transformation, which states that I will tend to transform other people's thoughts to conform to my own, given enough time and energy. If I keep saying, no one likes me long enough, pretty soon they'll get sick of hearing it and they begin not to like me. I don't force anyone to think anything. I can't make you think or believe anything. But if I keep putting it out night and day, I'll tend to help transform other people's thinking. They might have started out liking me, but by now they're sick of my moping around and saying how terrible I am and how non-valuable my presence is, so they end up not liking me. Again, it works in the other direction. If I put out gratitude or joy, that will tend to breed that in the people in my environment. And finally, the fourth law is the law of synchronicity, which states that complementary patterns will attract one another. If I believe that I'm a victim, then I will tend to attract someone with a lesson to teach me, someone who's got a point to make, someone who thinks I need to get my comeuppance. And again, these laws will work in any direction. Therefore, it's important that I'm the one choosing what my basic stance or premise in life is. Remember, I talked about that format of logic introduced by the snake in the Garden of Eden. It's called a syllogism. There's a major premise, like you're not like God, and a minor premise, those who eat the fruit are like God. And so the conclusion is, if you want to be like God, eat the apple. If you accept the major one and the minor one, you can be like God. You want to be like God. You can be it if you do this. Then you're all the way down the road. You've already bought it. So if we have a major premise like I'm not likable, people like others who help them. And I will be likable if, fill in the blank, I please people. I take care of them. I give them advice. Whatever they think they need. Well, what am I doing subconsciously most of my life? I'm trying to please people. And I ask, Why am I such a caretaker? Why can't I never seem to do enough? I keep on trying to validate my likableness. But whoa, I can never do enough work to change a major premise I haven't directly addressed. Now, if I go back and change that, I am a likable person. Does that mean I'm not going to want to help anyone anymore? Au contraire, mes amis. I believe that indeed I can still be helpful, but not with the strings attached of needing another's validation continually. We'll be helping for the joy of helping, just because it's pleasurable to do, not because I'm trying to fix myself. These unconscious major premises that we've taken on are really what's running our life, not our family that doesn't appreciate us enough, or our employer that doesn't see our true worth. It's these major premises, or personal laws as I call them, that are the culprits. If I start out with an I'm undeserving and another I'll never make as much money as my father, now let's see what happens. Well, once you buy those premises right from the get-go, it's predictable. It's a no-brainer. Of course, I'm going to get passed over for the promotion or get fired, and no one will invite me to the party. I've given the universe those instructions. And so, to pry loose those major premises, which I have reinforced these many years, is our creative challenge. And I don't believe it's because we're stupid, ignorant, neurotic, that we have them. I believe that we've played this game and that we've chosen some of these themes for a very important purpose. Not that we know all that right now, but I believe we've come to this planet and we're working with these major themes because we want to not only grow and evolve ourselves as conscious beings, but we're also here to help change that ethic on the planet. And any one of us that does that helps create that belief system for all of us. As we do this next work, you might find some resistance in yourself. If we do the exercise correctly, there will be some emotions attached to it. Knowing that, we keep breathing and moving through whatever arises. Okay, it's time for us to take these principles now and to start working in our life with them. The analysis principle states that we can discover the contents of our mind. And so we have our next game called the analysis game. Take handout 5, the analysis game and affirmation games. In step number 1, you will choose an issue in your goals for community building in your life. It could be an inner, outer, or global goal. You're going to choose an issue in your life that you would like to make some headway on. Now, you don't have to choose the biggest issue in your life, but don't shrink back and choose something relatively insignificant. Pick something that has some emotional charge on it, and it will help you get down to what the personal laws are for you. We'll put it in this form. What I want in my community building is, this can be inner, outer, or global. And this presumably is what you don't have. For example, what I want is a job that gives me abundant income or more than barely adequate wages. I want a good wage. Now, what I have is a job that pays me just getting by, scraping by. What I want is, this is something you believe you do not have, and what I have is, this is something you believe you do have, and that they're opposites. They're different. So take something regarding building your inner, outer, or community goals and divide it into those two categories. What I want is, what I have is. The simpler you can make this, the better. In other words, don't get really complicated or long-winded or lengthy. Boil it down. Boil it down to the essence. What I want is my body to weigh so much, and what I have is a body weighing that much. Or what I want in my relationship with my partner is this, and what I have in my relationship with my partner is that. Second step. Now this is a mental step that's done for the purpose of this exercise. It's something that you need, say, when you go to a movie or the theater. It's called a willing suspension of disbelief. So we're going to imagine, just for the time of this exercise, that what you just wrote down in step 1 that you said you have is actually something that part of you really wants. Now, I know your mind may balk at this and say, "What? I just said I didn't want that." I'll ask you to play the game for a little while and see what happens. We can always go back to not wanting it after the game, for sure. But just for the purpose of this analysis game, imagine for a moment that a part of you really wants this. Now, this moves us quickly to step number 3, because step number 3 is that you write down 3 good reasons why that part of you wants this. Now, when I say a good reason, I mean a reason that actually has some merit to it, not a neurotic reason like I want this because I'm really a poor, miserable sot and I deserve this kind of misery. That's a lousy reason. That's a neurotic reason. No, a reason that I want a lower paying job, for example, might be that it's challenging to me to discover and to put forth my worth. And maybe not to believe I have to do it in this career. Maybe if I were getting more money for doing this, I'd stay here. This is challenging me to really look at what I want to do and put it forth. Now, that doesn't mean, and therefore I should stand pat and stay with this job. Don't jump to any conclusions. What do I want, say, extra weight for? Okay, this extra weight is giving me the opportunity to value something in my relationships, to value something about me that I may not if I think they're just wanting to get to know me because I look good. Or this weight gives me the leisure to not feel as on the spot. It gives me a little protection. It gives me a buffer in the world. And I feel in one way less put upon, less demanded of, less pressured. Now, does that mean, and therefore I should keep this weight? No. We're just looking for 3 benefits among what you might think are a zillion reasons not to have it. But we're focusing right now on finding 3 good reasons for wanting it. If you can do this, this is starting to work on mental mastery. Find 3 good reasons for wanting that thing you said in step 1 you didn't want. And then step 2, you changed your mind and said you did. So you can write down 3 good reasons for wanting that. Again, check to make sure they're not neurotic reasons like I deserve punishment or this proves what an incompetent I am. There's no real value or benefit to that. The next is the 4th and all-important step, and that is you're going to write the limiting belief which makes this reason valid or understandable is the limiting belief or major premise or personal law which makes that reason reasonable for you. For example, I want a low-paying job because it's going to give me the impetus to look into other career tracks. Okay. Well, somehow I have the belief there that I won't change or do something that's more valuable for me unless I'm starving. The belief is that somehow that money would lure me into doing something I don't want to do. So I might state that belief as, I need economic deprivation in order to cause me to change or to look into other career options. That's a limiting belief. You may not have realized it was there, but is what's making that reason reasonable, and it's what's reinforcing staying where you are. Of course, you do not consciously believe that, but it's the subconscious beliefs held in place with trauma or emotionally charged relationships or events in your life that have stuck in your nervous system and psyche. So, I have extra weight. Okay, the reason I want that extra weight is to give me a buffer to the world. So the belief there is that I wouldn't be able to handle people being too attracted to me or wanting things from me. So the belief is that my attractiveness is not safe. Now, these things are not minor thoughts here. If you're hitting the nail on the head, you actually might be starting to feel some things in your body. And you want to keep breathing and let yourself stay right with it. So write down the limiting belief that underlies each of those reasons. There'll be a limiting belief for each reason, and you're going to come up with 3 limiting beliefs. We're not going to change that limiting belief right now. We're not trying to alter it in this exercise. We're just trying to bring it out of the woodwork and bring it to consciousness. Stop the video now and complete Handout 5, Analysis Game. And then come back to the video. Please, this is not the place we want to stop. Now, uncovering limiting beliefs or our personal laws may not feel the greatest, but it puts you in a position to do something about them quite different, which brings us to our next game. I need to know how to change these thoughts and how to alter these belief systems. And so the second principle, the affirmation principle, is very simply stated, I can change my thoughts. I can change my mind. I can change the contents of my mind. This is a skill which is quite often misunderstood, but when practiced with the deftness and agility that we can muster, it's true master swordplay, because it will cut to the jugular of the most venomous, negative, and limiting thoughts I can have. A well-constructed affirmation is one which goes right after that personal law. It goes right to the heart of the negative or limiting belief, and most simply, it reverses it without trying to get complicated or fancy. If, for example, someone had the belief, I need pain to appreciate growth and healing, then an affirmation might be, joy motivates me to appreciate growth and healing. I don't have to get really fancy with it. An affirmation is just a tool. It doesn't change my life automatically. It's a tool that if I use to dig in there and to get to the heart of the negative or limiting belief, I can release the emotion around it. It's generally better if the tool does not have a negative in it. So rather than saying, I no longer need amounts of pain and suffering and joylessness, we want to use these laws of the mind to our advantage. So the law of attraction is like attracts like. So you want to be putting in front of your mind joy rather than pain, suffering, and so on. So when you're writing your affirmation, it's good to put it in the positive form. Second of all, to put it in the present, not in the past or the future. Someday, if things go right, I'll have some joy. You're not distancing, putting it off into the future. Now, the other side of this is that you can write such a saccharine, up in the sky, airy-fairy affirmation that your mind is not going to buy it at all. For example, if I write, joy fills my life every moment, and I continuously appreciate all of my growth and healing without a doubt. I've probably gone a little too far. Your mind has to buy at least the possibility of the positive thought. So you may have to state it as, I am learning to experience joy more and more each day, for your mind to accept that as possible. If I've overstated the case, my mind won't buy it, and then it's not a good affirmation for me. A good affirmation is one that works for you, even if it breaks all the other rules. The best affirmation is one that stretches you just the right amount. Your affirmation could be too weak. Joy potentially helps my growth and healing. No, I need something that's personal and that stretches me a little bit. That's the challenge, to write an affirmation that stretches you the right amount. It may make you a little bit uncomfortable. That's okay. A good affirmation will do that, just like a good stretch in yoga. Not too much, but you want to stretch yourself a little bit beyond just the comfortable and familiar. On Handout 5, in Affirmations Game, write 3 affirmations, one for each of your limiting beliefs. Stop the video now and complete Affirmations Game on Handout 5 and come back to the video. What you have here is your reprogramming affirmations. I actually carry my affirmations around. I've got one in my wallet. I've got them on my desk. You can Use them for bookmarks, put them on your mirror. These are powerful tools only if you practice them first, and then are able to refer to them when the mind starts to put you in the state of fear or anxiety. This is worth more than gold right here. Changing your thoughts, changing your mind, changing your life. It has been said that it takes 28 days to change a habit. So say and feel your affirmations for the next month. Just saying them will not work. You have to feel them. You have to take them into your body to genuinely reprogram your brain. You may help do this by reading your affirmations to yourself in the second person, in a mirror, or by recording it and playing it back. When the affirmation feels integrated and true to you, then it's time to let it go and write one that gives you a little bigger stretch. Now, the final principle is the goals principle, which is I can produce the results I want. We've already implemented a major tool for this principle by clarifying and writing down what we want in specific areas of our life on handout 3 of class 1. I'll ask you to go back and review what you wrote for your goals, and if you find yourself stuck on any one of them, meaning that they seem hopeless to you, or they get you emotionally upset, or you find yourself avoiding them altogether, you now have the analysis tool to ferret out the unconscious beliefs in your way, and the affirmations tool to address and change the belief which will impede your manifesting that goal. You will note your progress, and that will, like a chain reaction, give you the power and confidence to, as Buddha encouraged, be in charge of your every thought more and more. Holding you in my heart as fellow travelers on the road home, I send and receive blessings for our circle and for all sentient beings till next class. Blessings in light and love.